Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. Here's what we have in the bulletin. Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions wins its first appeal case. Concerns over heightened impact of climate change locally. And later in sports, incoming General Secretary looking to rebuild the reputation of Jamaica Football Federation. Thank you for joining us. I'm Kelisha Williams, and here are the details. The Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions today recorded a historic win in the first appeal under the Judicature Appellate Jurisdiction Amendment Act 2021 against Lyndell Powell. The Court of Appeal this morning quashed the Home Circuit Court's 12-year sentence and imposed that Powell, otherwise called Lazarus, who was convicted for 2 counts of murder in 2017, serve life imprisonment instead.
The appeal is allowed to the sentences imposed by the learned judge are quashed, and in their stead the following are imposed. A. Count 1, life imprisonment with the stipulation that the respondent serve 20 years and 7 months at hard labor before becoming eligible for parole. B. Count 2, life imprisonment with the stipulation that the respondent serve 24 years and 7 months at hard labor before becoming eligible for parole. 3. The sentences are to run concurrently and are to be reckoned as having commenced on the date on which they were imposed, that is the 2nd of December 2021.
Powell pleaded guilty to the January 2017 murders of Oral McIntosh and Ida Clark and was sentenced last December to 12 years imprisonment on each count. He would only serve 12 years as the sentences were to run concurrently. The Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions in May argued that the sentence was unduly lenient and inadequate given the circumstances of the cases. Supreme Court Judge Justice Bertram Morrison, who tried the case, ruled that Powell would be eligible for parole after serving 10 years. Powell had convictions for 2 firearm offenses at the time of his murder convictions and was sentenced in August 2019 to 18 months imprisonment on each count. After Powell was sentenced for the double murder, the DPP's office issued a statement saying the prosecutor had indicated on record when the case was being entered that the Crown had made a recommendation on the sentence to be imposed. With less than 1 week to go before the United Nations Climate Conference COP27, heightened concerns about the devastating effects of climate change in Jamaica, experts and young people believe COP27 must move beyond just talk and take action now, especially providing well-needed climate finance to developing countries like Jamaica. We have more in this report. Devastating floods, landslides and droughts all happening across the island in 2022 and linked to the worsening effects of climate change. And with COP27 just around the corner, concerns.
I am concerned because I live on an island, so I know if the sea levels start to rise, we'll be at high risk for tsunamis and things like that, and I don't feel like a lot is being done.
But what can a developing country like Jamaica do? Experts have already indicated that small island developing states like Jamaica contribute the least to the world's carbon emission, the release of greenhouse gases which contribute to climate change.
I think we should switch towards more green energy because, we already have beef with JPS, so more solar power and things like that. And I think we should put more emphasis on things like recycling because we do have a problem with waste generally.
It is concerning, but with the development of humans as a species, it kind of becoming more and more inevitable, and I guess the major effects of it are going to not really take place in a full generation. So might sound dark, but it's almost like, what can you do really?
For Chief Executive Officer at the Jamaica Environment Trust, Dr. Teresa Rodriguez Moody, it's not just about Jamaica, but climate change is a global issue which requires collaboration. She outlined that one of the main focus of COP27 is climate finance for countries like Jamaica. She pointed to the $100 billion developed countries promised to help contribute annually to climate finance by 2020, but failed to do so.
That's not free money. Oftentimes, those are loans at low interest rates. But the whole issue of loss and damage, the conversations that are happening around that is that money should not be a loan. Those money, whatever funding that comes for loss and damage, should be grants.
But with other pressing issues like crime, unemployment, and the economic fallout from COVID-19 plaguing Jamaicans, why should people care about COP27?
The issue of climate change is a life and death situation, and we're not being dramatic here.
The conference will see world leaders, including Prime Minister Andrew Holness, gather in Egypt from November 6 to 18. However, stakeholders at international NGO Climate Tracker have already predicted that the conference could go on longer than expected as developing countries could push back on climate finance. The Association of Christian Communicators and Media is this afternoon cautioning the Education Ministry against restricting religious practices as it prepares to implement protocols for devotions in schools. Education Minister Favour Williams announced that the ministry is working on protocols for devotions in schools following Wednesday's incident during general devotion at Oberlin High School in St. Andrew. Scores of students at the institution reportedly collapsed and started speaking in tongues, while others appeared to be overwhelmed with emotion after a female teacher prayed for them. The association says the protocols to be developed must not dismantle, diminish, or dismiss the role of the church as a moral and spiritual guide in educational institutions. It adds that while there may be a need to bring some amount of order to Christian worship in schools, it must be in the direction of affirming the greater need for devotion and ensuring that it remains a fixed item on the curriculum. Portmore is seeing a breakthrough for improved potable water with a $593 million investment. Cordian Barrett tells us more.
The National Water Commission, NWC's non-revenue water reduction project is aimed at reducing wastage. The project is a partnership between government, the NWC, and global water utility company MIA. During a tour of the project areas in Portmore St. Catherine on Thursday, Minister without portfolio in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, Matthew Samuda, explained that over 60% of water leaks out before it gets to homes or business pipes due to theft or old infrastructure.
Now, the NWC has been very clear that non-revenue water situation is totally untenable, and we will be working to correct that. We've done major corrective works in Kingston. We've cut the non-revenue water by half, which is a major accomplishment, and I'm very proud of the work that the team has done in that area. We are in Portmore, and we're already seeing some gains. We've already realized energy reduction of upwards of 30%. We're seeing much less leaks.
The tour focused on ensuring that the systems in place were working efficiently for leak detection, among other things.
We also saw a regulation system to manage pressure, which is very important. 12 such sites will be installed in Portmore to ensure that the pressure is pretty much stable through the network all throughout the day. This will move us to above 23 hours a day of reliable service within Portmore, and this is something we're very proud of.
New water meters have also been installed to give accurate reading to ensure every drop counts.
The older meters are not as efficient. They don't capture the full usage in the way that they need to. These new meters do. They also have a guard against theft, which we think is particularly important. So we are working with the teams to ensure that we install thousands of these across the country daily.
MIA's non-revenue water project has also been implemented in Kingston and St. Andrew. MIA's country manager explained that the aim was to prevent a similar issue in Kingston with pressure flow.
Portmore is very special because it has low pressures and is a very flat area. Our challenge was to restructure reorganize the distribution in a way that can satisfy everybody. And this has been done to the pressure zones and DMAs that we are created, and with a great collaboration from NWC part that has been instrumental to give us all the information necessary to us to be faster.
The 5-year Portmore non-revenue water reduction project got underway in March 2021. Cody and Barrett, TVJ News.
As the debate on structured housing developments continue, the Jamaica Fire Brigade is echoing the need for planned communities. As the Fire Brigade seeks to educate communities on fire safety, they've listed improper development planning as a major problem. O'Shane Masters reports.
On the heels of backlash against the demolition of unfinished houses in Bernadotte and Catherine, Prime Minister Andrew Holness declared that his administration will only embark on planned developments. It's a view echoed by the Jamaica Fire Brigade, as they say lack of community structure is one of the greatest hindrances when responding to house fires.
In some of these communities which are unplanned for, which development doesn't take place in an orderly manner, you find that whenever we respond, there's not proper road for you to access where persons live, and sometimes there's not proper water for us to replenish our water supply in our units to fight these fires.
According to Assistant Commissioner in charge of fire prevention, Sean Martin, most burn fatalities occur in house fires. It's why, in recognition of Fire Safety Awareness Week, the brigade is focusing on educating, especially the disabled community across the island. In addition to drills at infirmaries on Thursday, Assistant Commissioner Martin says they have targeted the blind community by printing fire safety information in Braille format so they can understand it. Persons with intellectual disabilities are also included, as firefighters are trained to identify and communicate with them at their level. They are also reaching out to the deaf community.
One thing that we are doing sign language for firefighters. Now, why is that important? It is important because most times we have a challenge communicating with this community because we don't understand the language as in the sign language. So if we train our members in sign language, it means that we will be able to at least communicate with them if it's even in a basic way where we can understand what they are saying to us and we can talk back to them in a way that they can actually understand.
The brigade is also reaching out to caregivers and developers, advising about wheelchair ramps, railing, and other infrastructure that will help the disabled community in the event of a fire. O'Shane Masters, TVJ News.
For the latest in the world of business, here's Cody and Barrett.
The Development Bank of Jamaica is offering a $100 million grant to help investors and entrepreneurs meet patent requirements. The program was recently approved. Manager of the DBJ's Boosting Innovation, Growth and Entrepreneurship Ecosystems program, Christopher Brown, says successful inventors, researchers and entrepreneurs can receive up to $4 million. The program will cover up to 80% of the sum for approved projects. Applicants must have a registered business in Jamaica and submit a patent application with the Jamaica Intellectual Property Office. The application period will be open until November 25. In business internationally, the New York Stock Exchange has confirmed that the world's richest man, Elon Musk, has completed his $44 billion takeover of Twitter. Mr. Musk tweeted, "The bird is freed," and later said, quote, "Let the good times roll," end quote. The number of top executives, including the boss Parag Agrawal, have reportedly been fired. Mr. Agrawal and 2 other executives were escorted out of Twitter's San Francisco headquarters on Thursday evening. The completion of the deal brings to an end months of legal wrangling, but it has prompted questions over the platform's future direction. And coming up in the Business Review this Sunday, we take a peek into Jamaica's first ever selfie studio. That's it for the Business Minute this week. I'm Cody Ann Barrett.
It's now time for the top regional and international stories. Here's O'Shane Masters.
In the region, the United States Customs and Border Protection CBP agency says a vessel transporting 40 bales of cocaine was intercepted in the Caribbean Sea on Wednesday. The drug, weighing over 2,600 pounds, has an estimated street value of $26.4 million US. US CBP agents say its air and marine operations intercepted the Spider-type Yola vessel with 2 engines and 2 persons on board south of Vieques Island off Puerto Rico. The CBP says the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration, DEA, and the Federal Bureau of Investigations, FBI, took the 2 people into custody and seized the contraband. On the international scene, Chinese state media says the COVID situation in most parts of Tibet has improved and more areas are getting back to normal. That's after people in Lhasa held a rare protest against lockdown measures that have been in place for more than 70 days. Residents are not allowed to leave their homes unless absolutely necessary. Lhasa is one of nearly 100 Chinese cities under full or partial lockdown. And those were the top regional and international stories. I'm Shane Masters.
And that's the Midday News. I'm Kalisha Williams. Join us at 7 for Primetime News. On behalf of the news, sports, and production teams, good afternoon.